practically every bin that we went to, we found something that was either 100% cashmere or partial cashmere.
Yeah, we were finding cashmere left and right.
It was crazy anyway, because I couldn't leave it in the bins because it was just too cute.
I had to rescue it.
I did. I had to rescue it.
But the more I look at it, the more it creeps me out that there's a mounted poodle head, like you shot a poodle and put it on your wall.
Hi, and welcome to our What Sold video for the week of November 10th through 16th, where we'll go over every item that sold across multiple platforms. However, the only platform we sold on for this week was eBay.
Really?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Definitely a weird one.
It is rare. We normally have at least one sale somewhere else. But
True. So for this one, every platform is one platform. But let's get ready and dive in. All right, the first item that sold was one of the Christmas Story window clings. If you guys have watched one of our videos before, you know we got these doing retail arbitrage and they sell really well for us. We paid $1.35 and they sold for $13.99. Next up was a J. Crew really pretty cobalt blue textured sheath dress. We found this in the Goodwill bins for $2.50 and it sold for $38.38. Next up was a vintage 1995 Boyd's Bear. He was wearing a patriotic sweater and he had his tag and everything. We got this at a garage sale for $1 and it sold for $11.98.
I remember shipping was high on that thing. That thing was like a lead weight.
Yeah.
I think that was the one.
It was like
dense,
a heavy
like a bean
beanie.
bat. Yeah, it was heavy.
Next up was a vintage lot of Y2K. They were genuine Y2K items. These were rhinestone embellished alligator style hair clips or barrettes. I got these out of a bag of vintage barrettes at a garage sale. I paid 25 cents for this part of it and they sold for $19.99. I think I paid $1 for the bag and then I managed to split it up into 4 lots. Next up was a 1989 Bowman baseball card for the player Ken Griffey Jr. This was Kevin's and it sold for $8.99.
It's a nice set.
Yeah, he was valuable. He looks pretty tough in that picture.
Well, Ken Griffey Jr. was a very famous player.
Yeah, but that made him look tough?
No.
Oh.
That's just him mean mugging for the camera.
Yeah, he was looking good. All right. Next up was a weird little item. It was a 5.5-inch plush, fuzzy, weighted white gnome or elf or dwarf. It was
a very odd looking little thing.
It was a very European looking thing, and the word Nice or whatever that is, I think is what this item is in like Sweden or wherever it's from. Anyway, when I researched it, that's what I found out. But it was an unusual little item. We got this for free from somebody who gave us a bunch of stuff. Like most of it was like kids' crafts and things, but there were some random things in there like this. But anyway, we had no cost and it sold for $13.58. And we just sold something else.
That's always good. We
just sold a package of itty bitty book light bulbs.
Oh, wow. That's a gripping sale.
For $15. All right, next up was an SL Fashions black and blush fit and flare taffeta cocktail dress. This was a really cute little dress. It was gifted to us to sell. We had no cost and it sold for $31.98. I have a feeling somebody bought this for like homecoming or a holiday party or something.
I was thinking that prom or homecoming or something.
Because this sold in November.
We got really good feedback on it.
We did, because it was a nice dress. It was really cute. All right, next up was a vintage pumpkin color Norton McNaughton wool and cashmere blend jacket or blazer. We got this from one of the Houston bins, I think. We paid $1.77 and it sold for $39. And quick little side note on our bin strip, like practically every bin that we went to, we found something that was either 100% cashmere or partial cashmere.
Yeah, we were finding cashmere left and right.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was really weird.
I mean, a lot of them had holes.
That's true.
Like little tiny holes and stuff, which may be why people left them, but it's still cashmere.
Yeah.
So
this one was in great condition.
This one didn't have any holes. This one was just nice.
So next up was a cute little plush bat. I actually comped it, found out it wasn't worth anything, but bought it anyway because I couldn't leave it in the bins because it was just too cute.
I had to rescue it.
I did. I had to rescue it. It was by the brand Aurora World, and it was a little 13-inch, like his wingspan was 13 inches, so he wasn't big. But it was a plush bat. We got that at
Fort Worth
bins for $1.10, and it sold for $13.99.
We made over $5 on that. That's worth
I know,
plenty because it was really easy.
That's true.
And it sold fast.
Yeah, well, we listed it. Well, I guess they bought it after Halloween.
Yeah, they bought it after Halloween.
Yeah, that's true. Next up was a vintage lot of 15 Boxcar Children books. We got these primarily from the North Austin bins. One of them came from the South Austin bins. We paid $3.44 for these, and they sold immediately for $28. Next up was a Winchester Model 1894 carbine book from 1984. And that we got at an estate sale for $5. Definitely be on the lookout for gun books and gun magazines because some of them are worth a lot, including this one. This one sold for $100 even. That was a good one.
That's a lot.
Next up was a 2009 Pillow Pet red, white, and blue patriotic USA Sam dog plush. We got this.
I like to call him Mercadog.
Mercadog. We got that at I think the Fort Worth bins for $1.03, and it sold for $19. Next up was a lot of 2 women's Christmas or holiday themed turtlenecks by the brand Time and True. These were gifted to us, and they sold for $14 even. Next up was an adult extra large green Starbucks Good Things Are Happening employee t-shirt. We got this out of one of the Goodwill bins for $2.02, and it sold for $14.99. Next up, I couldn't believe this was in the condition that it was in the bins. I found this in Fort Worth. It was a 2006 Hello Kitty pink flexible 3-ring binder plus 90 pristine pages of branded Hello Kitty notebook paper inside of it. I got this, like I said, from Fort Worth for $1.09, and it sold really fast for $29.99.
It did sell very fast.
Yeah.
I knew it would, too. It looked really cool.
Hello Kitty stuff, for sure. Next up was a vintage Fisher-Price Fun with Food. This is from that set, which is, I think, from the 70s or 80s. And this was an orange plastic replacement pepper shaker. We got this gifted to us to sell, and it sold for $8.78. Next up was his mom's old bathing suit.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't swim anymore, so we decided to sell it. She gave it to us to sell. It was by the brand Longitude, and it was a black tropical floral one-piece swimsuit with an attached skirt. And more modest swimsuits with skirts, swim dresses, they always sell for us. This, we had no cost, and it sold for $30 even.
That wasn't bad, actually.
Yeah. Next up was a really nice pair of men's camo pants by the brand Banded. They just felt like they were high quality. Mm-hmm. We found these out of one of the Houston bins for $2.48, and these sold for $60. That was a good one.
That was a good one. They were nice.
They were very nice. Next up was a Nike men's charcoal hoodie. It was called Windrunner, and it was recycled organic, so a more expensive one. We found this also in one of the Houston bins. We paid $2, and it sold for $37.48. We were on a roll with picking up sweatshirts.
We got so many coats, blazers, sweatshirts.
Yeah, because it was like 115 outside.
Works.
Next up was a lot of 5 Lululemon reusable small tote bags. We found these in multiple Goodwill bins. I think we found them in San Antonio, Houston, and Waco.
Maybe even 4. I mean, we might find them
all over the place.
It might have been 5 different bins for all I can remember.
So we just lotted all of these together and sold them for $24.99. I have on my spreadsheet that we paid 7 cents.
I mean, they always sell in lots.
Yeah.
If you get enough of them, and they're always there, and they're very cheap because they're so light.
True.
So.
All true. Next up was a Department 56 by the artist Sandra Magsamen. This was a blue ceramic Friends Are Like Bras wall sign or plaque. We found this in a storage unit. It had the tag on it and everything, and it sold for $16.99. We had paid just 28 cents. Next up was a 13-piece lot of vintage 1979 Fisher-Price Little People car and camper playset, and it had a lot of the figures and accessories with it. We got this at a garage sale for $10, and it sold for $79.99.
Little people have changed a lot.
They have, yeah.
Now they're not so little. They're
now
big,
they're
fat
really
people
detailed
compared to these.
True. Next up was a 2017 Target brand pink 6.5-inch plush stuffed mounted faux taxidermy poodle. And we got this at the thrift store for 81 cents. It sold for $19.99.
Okay. I picked that up because it was just cool and we'd sold some like wall head things before. But the more I look at it, the more it creeps me out that there's a mounted poodle head, like you like shot a poodle and put it on your wall. It bothers me now looking at the pictures. I'm like, oh, I don't agree with this. I don't know if I'd pick it up again because it disturbs me a little bit.
All right, next up was a women's 2-piece jacket and skirt suit. It was by the brand Ann Crimmins for
It was a snazzy suit.
Collections. It was a really nice suit, but it did have some spots on it, which we disclosed. But this is kind of an expensive brand, I think. So if you find this brand, I would recommend looking it up. We got this gifted to us to sell. We had no cost, and it sold for $39.98. Next up was a vintage 1990s Hasbro Kitty Surprise sleeping bag only. This is a vintage toy. We got this gifted to us. Yeah, it was out of the Barbie bag. So we had no cost. It sold for $16. Next up was a pair of Rock Revival bootcut embellished jeans. We got these at a garage sale for $10 and thought they were in perfect condition, but when we got home, realized they were missing some of the rhinestones on the back, so they sold for a little bit less than we would have liked. But they sold for $29.98, and we got good feedback from the buyer.
So you're saying they weren't bedazzled, they were more like C or D dazzled?
Good one. All right, next up was a pair of indoor soccer shoes by Nike. They were Mercurial Victory 6 in the color seaweed. Sounds very appealing, doesn't it? We got this at the thrift store in Austin when we were down there for our bins trip. We paid $8.72 and they sold for $69.98.
Half price shoe day.
It was a good one. Next up was a vintage 1984 Magic Fit pattern kit for clothing design by Dusan.
It was such a cool retro looking kit.
And it was unused. It was pretty neat. We got this at one of the Goodwill bins for $1.09, and it sold for $24.99. Next up was okay, you explain what this is.
It's a mute, yes.
Yeah, for a trumpet. And I'll let him explain what it does.
It goes in the end of the trumpet and it changes it takes the higher brassy sound and brings it down lower. It's muting the air coming out of the end of the trumpet.
So anyway, we got that gifted to us to sell, and it sold for $30, and it sold really fast.
And it was a really nice one. It was a high quality one.
It was. Next up was a little accessory piece that was part of the Barbie Princess and the Pauper Palace or dollhouse. And that particular dollhouse, it's very, very large. It's like, up to my waist in height. But that particular dollhouse is worth a lot. If you have it in good condition and all the sound parts of it work and everything, you can get a couple $100 for that, I think, if it's complete. Probably more if it's complete. But anyway, the one that we had seen some better days, and so we actually completely stripped it for parts, and we've been selling off the parts of it. So this was just a little accessory piece that went with that, and it was gifted to us to sell, and it sold for $14.99. Next up was another set of the Christmas Story window clings, and we paid $1.35 for these. They sold for $13.99. Next up was a women's cowl neck sleeveless dress. We got this out of a storage unit for just 28 cents, and it sold for $15.18. Next up was 4 CDs by an artist named Roy Acuff and his Smoky Mountain Boys. And those were gifted to us to sell. They sold for $15 even.
We just got good feedback on that too.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
That's good. Next up was a black American Eagle zip-up hoodie. It was a really nice American Eagle one. It seemed like a more fancy one. We found this in
when I picked it up, I thought it was Armani Exchange.
Wow.
When I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, is this Armani?" Because it was nice. It didn't seem like American
They probably
Eagle.
did the AE thing on purpose.
It didn't seem like American Eagle.
We got that out of one of the Houston bins for $2.48, and it sold for $29.99. Next up was a children's book. It was hardcover with the dust cover. It was called If Jesus Came to My House by Joan Gale Thomas, and it was vintage from 1966.
I didn't read it, so I don't know. I don't know what she does when Jesus gets there.
We had no cost on that, and it sold for $12. Next up was a vintage lot of 2 little golden books. These were gifted to us. They were Christmas themed, by the way. These were gifted to us. We had no cost, and they sold for $14. Next up was a vintage lot of 2 boxed hosiery or stockings. These were like really vintage. So I think you had to use a girdle with these. They were new in the box though. These were gifted to us to sell. We had no cost, and they sold for $37.99.
Very quick, like next day.
Yeah.
We got good feedback on those too.
And next up was even more stockings. These were by the brand Lady Oris, which is a Saks Fifth Avenue brand. And they were also new in the box. They sold for $36.99, and they were also gifted to us.
And they also sold in like one day.
Yep. All right, so that wraps up all of our sales for this week. Let's go over the totals. This week we sold 38 items.
That's a low number.
It is, but our average sale price was $28.35.
Average went up a little. That's good.
Our sales totaled $1,077.14, and that made for a net profit of $619.40.
Again, it's almost 90 a day profit. That's good. That's really good. But we didn't hit our 100.
No,
We're trying for the 100.
we are.
We didn't make it. But that was because we only sold on eBay too.
True. It was a weird week. So that wraps up our video. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button, the like button, share it out to people, do all of the things. We really appreciate it. And we will catch you guys
On the flip
flip
side.
side.